one of the things I had to learn, I came from the public education setting. I was there for 30 years as a principal. And I was in the Sunnyside district, which has a lot of challenges, a lot of diversity. And when I became a CEO, I realized it's not enough just to know about education. And you guys learned that lesson faster and more long ago than I ever did. You have to know how to be a business leader as well. And that's one of the things that I think you guys are already doing extremely well. But you never ignored the education aspect in order to become a business leader. And I respect that about your organization. And that's why I agreed to come up here today. I want to talk first about what you do for students and what I've seen happen, and offer some, perhaps some suggestions that you can come back and take back to your campus. The biggest thing I think you do for education is that you look at not what you need to deliver only, you look at what the students need. And the commonality I see that you guys have presented is critical thinking. The kids can apply it to whatever area they need to take it on to once they graduate. But that critical thinking that you teach is imperative. And as a past principal, I would say that's probably the biggest thing that you do and that SARSEF does that we have in common. We don't care if every one of our kids becomes a scientist or an engineer. And people are always surprised to hear us say that. They say, well, that's what you do. That's what your foundation stands for. That's not what we stand for. We stand for kids becoming problem solvers and critical thinkers. And I think that's important for you as well, to take the kids where they need to go. There isn't one parent out there, one consumer out there who wouldn't say, I don't want my child to become a critical thinker. We have parents who say, well, maybe not science, or maybe not art, or maybe not humanities. But no one says no to critical thinking. We recently did it was actually 2 years ago now, a survey of our CEOs in the Southern Arizona area, and we actually reached out to some of our donors who are giving to us from across the country. And we asked them, what is it that you want us to tell the kids when we go out to the schools? Because we do free educational outreach. What is it that you want us to teach? What kind of student do you want to have graduate and come to your business? What skills do they need? There was one thing that they had in common, every single one, except for one, and it was because he was just a really nice guy, I think, and didn't want to say it. They all said that they need students to solve problems, that our nation became such a focus on test taking that the kids that are graduating right now are really good at deciding A, B, C, or D, true or false. And what happens is when they come out and they graduate from college, they walk into the businesses and they say, the minute they hit a problem, it didn't work. And they go to their bosses and they say, it didn't work. And the ones who are a little bit older, because by the time you get to be a CEO, you usually are a little bit older. They're not all like some of the people in this room, they're young. They know that that didn't used to be the case. And what's happened is our kids are forgetting how to take the skills that they have innately and intuitively, use them, develop them, be supported by teachers who can tell them, use those skills the minute you hit the problem. So how do you work on that? Now at SARSEF, we think that doing research is the best way to do it. We don't do science fair projects like in the old days where you built volcanoes or you put something together, models together. If you're still doing that, stop it. Don't do that anymore. Don't do product comparisons of paper towels or laundry detergents. We don't do that anymore. That's what your parents had you do. We're not doing that anymore because we haven't found too many 5-year-olds or 8-year-olds that really care about doing laundry. So we don't do that anymore. But what we do is we start teaching research skills at the kindergarten level. And if you think kindergartners can't do research, you are absolutely wrong. They care about why some days they can slide down the slide really fast and why some days they kind of get stuck along the way. They care about when they're looking out the window instead of paying attention, why the birds come in right after lunch recess, more so than any other time of the day, because they've been noticing that. And of course, it's because of the scraps that were left out there from the pockets. But the kindergartners can wonder. They can wonder about why they don't get very many blue M&Ms. And they get a lot of brown ones and red ones and orange ones. So your kindergartners can be researched and they can wonder. And so when you take that skill as a school leader and you tell your teachers, let the kids explore through a research project, they own critical thinking skills. they start to look at what variable they can change when they have a problem. They start looking at basing conclusions on logical and critical data. And I wish some of our political representatives could start doing that a little bit more. I think we'd all be a better off country if we could all start basing our conclusions on data and looking at it before we make some kind of assertions. And so we say that if kids start doing their own research at a really early age, the kids that we will graduate will not only be better thinkers and better individuals, they're also going to serve our community better. And so SARSEF really focuses on taking kids, and I hope you will think about this as an idea to take back to your school, focusing them on what problem they need to solve in their home, in their school, or their community. And so we encourage them to do a project each year, one project. It's not going to take the whole year. It's not going to take all of your teaching time. And look at something that's a problem for them. For example, we had a high school girl whose grandmother was having trouble getting cans off her top shelf. So she took her cane and she would reach it up with her cane and she'd knock the can over and then hopefully duck out of the way. And of course, if you're a teenager watching your grandmother do that, that's a little cause for concern and you kind of know that's a problem. Now, she didn't have great engineering skills. She didn't know how to build a hand that would grasp. They tried the ones from the Walgreens, and as you know, if you've ever tried them, they can't grasp something heavy and hold on to it. But what she did was she created a chute. And so her grandmother would knock the can into the chute, and it would slide on down. It was her solution to a problem in her home. We have another young lady who loves to hike out in the desert. And so what she did was she saw all this graffiti that was all over the rocks in the national park there. She tried some different cleaning solutions. The rangers there said they're going to do more harm to the environment than they are good. You need to come up with something. We'll let you do it, but it has to be non-harmful to the environment. She did. She came up with something that was perfect for them, perfect for her. She could erase the graffiti, and she solved a problem in her community that mattered to her. Now, for some kids, it's going to be their pet isn't getting enough enrichment. For some kids, it's going to be coming up with how to build a solar heater. We have 2 kids who went to the International Protection Agency on an internship because they built a solar heater for their grandmother on their reservation, and she was off the grid, and they built it out of Pepsi cans. And so that was really cool. I mean, we changed lives that day, and we didn't even know we were doing it. They did it all on their own. We just gave them a prize and sent them on to the international fair. But I think what I'm trying to tell you is that if we can get kids to care, we're going to change what our future citizenry looks like, our future nation looks like, and we'll increase the diversity of who we see graduating and going out into the workplace. One of the things SARSEF has worked on is getting more females involved, more ethnic representation, and also different parts of town. Because about 5 years ago, we looked at our stage and the kids who were winning, and guess what? They were white, they were males, and they were from a certain area of Tucson. And you probably know exactly which area I'm talking about. And so we said we have to do something, and that's when we started our educational outreach program. And in order to get kids involved at the Title I schools, we had to get, and girls especially, females especially, we had to make them care. And when we started introducing the idea of solve a problem in your house, in your school, or your community, that's when we started getting the buy-in. And that's why our rate right now is 60% non-white. We have 55% female, and at the high school level, twice as many female as males. So, I mean, that's great, but now we're worried. Now we got to turn it back around. Somebody said, oh, we have reverse discrimination here. So that's great. And we have 55% Title I schools, and I know a lot of your schools are Title I schools, or you're dealing with a great range of economic factors. So if you can use that when you go back to talk to your teachers about taking an idea that kids care about. It might be science and engineering, but it might be art. It might be sports. Take a problem that you have, do some research on it, and come up with a solution. You're going to get more representation. You're going to get great advertising for your school. And I know as business leaders, you know marketing is important. So every time one of those kids wins a competition, make sure to write it up. Put it in the newspaper, put it on Facebook, put it on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, whatever else, tweeters, or whatever it is that the kids are doing these days, because that's all marketing for you guys. And if you're not doing that right now, start. It's a great way to get new customers, new clients, get the word out there for your schools to say, we are doing what our society needs most. We're getting diversity, We're getting expertise in solving problems, critical thinking, and we're also getting kids that we want to be our neighbors and our doctors and our lawyers and our future professional leaders. And I think that's probably my biggest message to you today is keep doing what you're doing. I'm not going to tell you anything new, and I didn't tell you anything new. Just do more of it and keep advertising it so that other people know that there is choice out there. And if the school they're going to isn't working for them, there may be a school that's a little bit better for them, and that's fine too, because there's a place for everybody at this table. And we want you guys to be part of it, and I want to be part of yours. So thank you for having me today.